Hello, welcome to my Wartales Spearman class guide. I'm a host, Methfu. So if this guide managed to help you out even a tiny little bit, please smash that like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. So in this guide, we're going to be going over the best skills, equipment, and class to use as the Spearman. Okay, so super quick breakdown for the Spearman. So they bring a lot of support buffs to the table. A lot of damage increases for your allies, making them hit a lot harder. Utility wise, they're like a Swiss Army knife. They have so many different varied weapons with slows, knockbacks. They can stop enemies from taking turns. They bring so much utility. They're like the best support class, if not the only support class in Wartales. They also have a lot of sustained damage. They can hit up to 3 times in a turn with certain abilities. They bring bleeds to the table as well. They can hit multiple targets with AoE in a line. They bring a lot of sustained damage to your party. Right, so moving on to the build for the Spearman. So I've respected a fresh pikeman to show you the path I take down the skill tree. I'll also be going over all the other skills and let you know why I didn't like them compared to the ones I chose and what I think of them in general. Okay, so first up is Valorous Audacity. Every time this unit ends their turn next to an enemy and is not engaged in combat, you gain 1 Valor point. Okay, so the thing about this Valor point generation skill is that it looks good on paper, but in actual fact, it's really not. Because once you kind of go up to an enemy to get the Valor Point generation that you need by being next to them, you're kind of putting yourself in harm's way. And as a Spearman, you don't really want to be engaged on or be in the fray of things. You want to kind of play more of a mid-range kind of game where you kind of keep the enemies at a distance so you can use all your abilities whenever you want. Because as soon as you get engaged with the enemy as a Spearman, it shuts down a lot of your options and a lot of abilities that you can use. Next up is Valorous Victory. Every time this unit kills an enemy, you gain 1 Valor point. Okay, so the thing about this Valor point generation skill is that it can be a bit hit and miss on the Spearman. No pun intended. It's just kind of hard to pull off. You need to kind of set up the enemy for them to be able to burst it down. They don't really have that many damage skills. They got about 2 to 3 at most, and some of them are quite situational as well. So you're not necessarily going to be able to pull this off every single time in combat. So, Valorous Support. Every time this unit ends their turn next to an ally and is not engaged in combat, you gain 1 Valor point. Right, so this Valor point generation skill is the best one to have for the Spearman. Most of the time, you're going to be hugging your allies. You're going to be near them, giving them your utility, giving them your support, protecting them. This is literally hands down the best Valor point generation skill to pick for the Spearman. Moving on to level 3 and the classes, that starts with the Harpooner. Incapacitating Throw, 1 Valor point. Deals 29 damage to all units in the area. Applies bleeding to the first unit's hit. 9 meter area range. Bleeding. Target loses 20% of their max health at the end of their turn. Okay, so this skill is pretty decent. It has a good range on it. Does good damage. Can hit up to 3 to 4 targets. Applies bleeding to the first one hit. The only thing about this skill is it doesn't do enough. The damage is fairly low. The bleeding in this kind of like game state at the moment, you want to burst them down and not put too many dots out there. You kind of want to not play the long game and kind of play the shut down and kill the enemy as fast as possible game instead. So this skill would be better in a war of attrition, but at the moment it's not that great compared to some of the other skills. The Harpooner also comes with medium armor, and as I said in the previous guide, medium armor is the best armor you can get. It comes with critical hit on it, has good guard, has good armor, and there's none of the drawbacks or the penalties that heavy armor has with the minus movement speed. Right, so next up we got Herald. Battle Cry, 1 Valor point. Applies Fury to all allies in the area, 4 meter range. Fury, damage of the next attack increased by 50%. So I kind of have mixed feelings about this ability. It has a fairly low range. It's kind of hard to hit more than 2 or 3 people unless you're really actively going out your way to do it. On top of that, it only lasts for the first attack. If we were to compare that to a Berserker skill, which is the level 8 skill Battle Cry, yes, I agree, it is a level 8 ability. It should be fairly strong, but the Battle Cry on the Berserker literally lasts for 2 rounds. It has a 6 meter area as well. It's 2 meters larger than the Spearman's one. And on top of that, it literally does 30% damage instead of 50 on all your attacks. So it's not just the first attack you do as the Spearman. It literally is every single attack you do for the next 2 rounds. So obviously they are level differences between them. But normally as a class skill, it should be the class defining skill. It should make your class really strong. It should make you really think, Should I take this? Should I take that? Not be like, oh, this isn't as good as a level 8 skill on the Berserker, but it's my class skill. It should be one of the strongest skills I pick. It's what defines my whole character, the whole character I'm building. And once again, they get medium armor, which I said before, best armor in the game. Our last class is the pikeman. They get spear wall, 1 valor point. Targets a specific area. When an enemy enters the area, performs 1 attack of opportunity and stops them in their tracks. 3 meter range. Vigilance cannot be used if this unit is engaged in combat. Targeting. This unit is readying a skill. They cannot start any other action or become engaged in combat. So this skill is absolutely amazing. It's one of the main reasons I have 2 spearmen, or should I say pikemen, on my team at the same time. It's incredible. It does everything. It shuts down the enemy, stops them from having a turn, stops them from having any fun, completely nopes out their whole life. So every time an enemy comes up to you and tries to hit you, as long as you manipulate their pathing and make sure the spearman's the one in front, or making sure you're covering your allies properly, you can always stop them from attacking. This even works in Matthias Lund, which is like an elite boss. It stops him from attacking. That is so crazy. I feel like the spear wall is probably, I think it's probably the best skill in the whole game. I don't think there's any skill that's actually better than spear wall in the game. Especially when this gets upgraded, it's even more insane, even more nutty. And that's why I think spearmen are probably one of the best units, or if not the best units in the game as well. This just makes them insane because of that. As you probably guessed it, we are taking spear wall. They also get medium armor, which I explained earlier, best armor in the game. On to the level 5 skills. We got sweet spot, ranged attacks, apply, destabilization for 1 round. Destabilization guard reduced to 0. I actually have a bit of a sweet spot for this skill, pun intended. Most fights you're going to be using your pikeman to move first, so you're going to hit something tanky, take away the guard. Guard stops you from doing damage. It stops you from doing a lot of damage because of the damage reduction from the guard. So being able to put this on something right at the start of battle to be able to burst it down before the 1 round runs out is amazing. On top of that, you're going to move a lot as a spearman at the beginning and reposition to protect your allies to stop them from being hit. So it's really, really strong. It also works with all the spearman's weapons as well. It works with the really long throw ones. It works with the short range ones. The only reason I don't take it is because I normally use a fighter, and the fighter has destabilizing strike, which lasts for 2 rounds and does exactly the same thing. But otherwise, yes, this skill is actually very decent. Moving on to fervent support. Each time an adjacent ally is attacked by an enemy in close combat, deals 29 damage to this enemy. Not going to lie to you guys, when I first saw this skill, I was like, damn, this looks amazing. When I first started using this skill, I was like, oh, it's a bit rubbish. The range is very short on it. It's about as long as the spearman's spear. So in other words, if you're not in range to hit them, say for example they have range attacks, you're not getting the most out of this. On top of that, you don't want to be hit in combat. You don't want people being hit. You want to kill them before you kill you. So letting your adjacent ally be hit is kind of not the spearman's job. The spearman's supposed to be protecting that ally. So if you're letting them be hit, you're like not doing your job properly. Last on the level 5 list, we have Team Spirit. While next to an ally, this unit has brutality. Brutality, damage increased by 30%. Okay, so Team Spirit, great skill. You're most of the time going to be next to your allies. You're going to be next to them all the time. So this is pretty much a permanent buff. You're getting a permanent damage increase of 30%. There's not a time, or barely any time, when my spearmen are not near an ally. So as I said, this is a permanent 30% damage increase. Insane. Level 8 skill time. So we've got Last Push. 1 valor point. Applies to this unit and the targeted ally as many rage as they have debuffs. Rage. Damage increased by 5% and it's also stackable. So the thing I've noticed about Last Push while using it is it's actually fairly difficult to get debuffs on your characters. I think the most I've had is probably 3. I didn't really go out my way to get all the debuffs in the world on me, because that normally means I'm going to take a lot of damage. But I think, yeah, the most I've probably had is 3 at a time, and that's about 15% damage increase, which I can obviously keep doing every single turn. Most battles end in about 3 to 4 turns, I would say, depending how big the battle is. So yeah, I mean, over time, you're getting a fair amount of damage increase, but every turn you're not going to get that many debuffs on you. You're not going to get 3 debuffs every time, so it's not going to be like 15% every turn, and by the 3rd turn nearly everything's dead anyway. Right, so the next skill is Harnessing Strength. Damage increased by 5% for each bonus applied to this unit. Right, so harnessing strength, I don't even know where to begin with this. There isn't that many bonuses at this moment in time in the game. So I think the most I ever got out of this is about 10% damage increase. I mean, even compared to the last push, that's pretty bad. Obviously, it doesn't cost a valor point, it is a passive. But yeah, there's just barely any buffs. So yeah, harnessing strength needs to harness a bit more because it's kind of redundant. Okay, so our last level 8 skill is preparedness. If this unit ends their turn while not engaged in combat, they gain fury. Fury, damage of the next attack increased by 50%. Ignore the riposte part. That's the upgrade of it. I'm pretty sure that's a bug that shouldn't even be there, so just ignore that completely. So preparedness, this is actually pretty insane. Most of the time, you're not going to be engaged in combat as a pikeman or a spearman. You're going to be away from combat. You're going to be having a spear wall up. So they're never going to really hit you or engage you. You're always getting this every round. So in other words, it's almost like a passive 50% damage boost again. You're always getting that. I can literally count on my hands the amount of times my spearmen have been engaged in combat. I can literally count on my hands still. I think it's probably around 5 times. That's because I've made a mistake, not because they are engaged in combat all the time. So in other words, you're always getting this damage increase in your next attack pretty much. And it's a passive as well. It doesn't cost a valor point. And it's better than everything else in the level 8 kind of row. Everything else is kind of redundant compared to this. This is really good. Okay, so moving on to the upgrades, let's have a look at Battle Cry. So Battle Cry gets an area increase of 2 meters. The thing about that is it doesn't really help the kind of underlying issue with the skill originally, is that it doesn't do a lot for what it costs in valor points. And also it takes up your whole kind of class skill as well. And only lasts for 1 attack. I feel like if this was going to be an upgrade, I feel like they should have literally made it last for 2 or 3 attacks maybe. And maybe increase the area to 10 meters instead of 6. 6 is still relatively small, but yeah, I don't think that's a very worthy upgrade to make you actually take this. Okay, so last push upgrade applies to this unit and the targeted ally as many rage as they have debuffs plus 2. So in other words, if you have 2 debuffs, you get 10% plus that 2, which is 20%. Sometimes you don't have any debuffs at all. Debuffs are actually quite hard to come by sometimes. Not everyone does bleeds, not everyone does poisons or fire. So in other words, it's very hypothetical whether it's going to be better or not. But most of the time, you're guaranteed to get that 10% damage. So in about 2 or 3 rounds, you're going to have about 20 or 30% damage, which will be the same as other skills. So it doesn't actually make a big difference in the massive long run, so to speak, because by 2 or 3 rounds, that's the end of the battle anyway. Fervent support. Each time an adjacent ally is attacked by an enemy in close combat, deals 58 damage to this enemy. So in other words, it goes up by about 16 damage. I mean, that is okay. It's not amazing. It's for an upgrade, it's okay. But in actual fact, the skill's not that great anyway. As I said, you don't really want to be hit. And I guess if they doubled it and made it 84 damage every time, you let your ally get hit. Okay, yeah, maybe I can see, oh, that's quite a chunk of change there, quite a big boost of damage. But by upgrading it by 16, that's just really not a lot. So yeah, I still wouldn't take this anyway. Okay, so moving on to the incapacitating throw upgrade. Deals 29 damage to all the units in the area and applies bleeding. So if you notice the text there, instead of saying applies bleeding to the first unit's hit, it now applies it to all the units hit in the row. I mean, this is a worthy upgrade. It does make it very powerful. Bleeds are pretty good. There's only so much bleeding you can do though. I mean, most turns, you're just reapplying the same bleed. They don't stack. So in other words, once you got a bleed on someone, it's not going to go up to 2 bleeds where they're losing 40% or, 3 bleeds where they're losing 60%. It will always stay at 20%. So it's limited in use. And on top of that, it is very situational. You need to have them all kind of lined up. 9 meter area is, okay, it's fairly big, but not that great. If it was around 12 meters, you could probably quite consistently hit about 3 people. But yeah, I think at 9 meters, you're probably hitting around 2 most of the time, possibly 3. But yeah, I feel like it's still not that great, even with the upgrade, but it's a lot better than it originally was. Okay, so Sweet Spot upgrade. Attacks apply destabilization for 1 round and have a 40% chance to be critical hits. So in other words, your attacks don't even have to be ranged attacks anymore. They will have a chance to crit as well by 40% on top of your stats already. So I got 18% crit here, plus that 40%. That is 58% chance on every single attack I make with the Spearman to be a critical hit, and it causes destabilization as well on top of that. I can definitely see an argument to be made here to take this over the 30% flat damage increase that you would normally have if you don't have a fighter in your team to be able to break the guard down. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Right, so harnessing strength upgrade, damage increased by 10% for each bonus applied to this unit. So it's gone up by 5% from the previous tier. So this actually makes me a bit more inclined to take it. 10% actually, you can probably get that a lot of the time. Towards the late game, you get quite a lot of buffs. The Berserker can buff you. You can buff yourself as well. So yeah, you're most likely to get the 10%. I'm not sure about 20% because as I said, buffs are quite hard to come by. But you're pretty much weighing up harnessing strength versus preparedness in the tier with it. So preparedness, damage of the next attack increased by 50%. So the thing about spearmen is they don't actually attack that many times around. I mean, they do a spear wall that'd be like 2, maybe 1 plus your normal attack. So you're weighing up the 50% versus 10% or 20% possibly. So you literally need to decide between the two of them. I would probably go for preparedness still over that one, just because it's always there. It does what it says on the tin. I don't need to worry about these buffs or anything. It's literally just going to do it automatically for me, like a normal passive. Whereas this one, I probably will have to play around with it more, as in I need to like kind of be conscious of myself doing this, as in I'll be like, I need to buff up my spearman to make sure he gets that buff, to make sure he gets that damage bonus. So it's a bit more thinking involved, whereas this is more like fire and forget. Over to the spear wall upgrade. So targets a specific area. When an enemy enters the area, performs 2 attacks of opportunity and stops them in their tracks. So it's literally gone up by 1 attack of opportunity. 2 attacks, that's kind of a big deal. Think about the 1 attack, how strong that was, noping enemies' turns. Now you got 2 nopes. You can literally play 2 nope cards straight away and stop 2 enemies from attacking people. That's crazy. You're literally deleting their turns, you're disabling them. It's like a hard CC pretty much. You're putting them to sleep, you're turning them into a sheep, you're freezing them, you're literally stopping them, and you're doing it twice. Team Spirit upgrade, as long as this unit is next to an ally. They both have brutality. So instead of the spearman or the pikeman literally just having the brutality himself when he's next to an ally, now he spreads the love. Now he's giving it to his ally as well. So you both get the 30% damage increase from brutality. Really insane upgrade. Amazing. You're literally getting 2 for the price of 1. Great solid passive. Preparedness upgrade. If this unit ends their turn while not engaged in combat, they gain fury and riposte. So you're gaining riposte. The next time this unit is attacked by the engaged opponent, they parry with an attack opportunity, cancelled if the unit moves. I guess it's kind of there as more like, oh crap, the enemy engaged me anyway and I messed up. But otherwise, this isn't a very good upgrade, but the original skill is very good anyway. So having this is just kind of icing on the cake slightly, because 50% damage on your next attack, guaranteed every turn. It's really strong. The riposte is kind of like a, oh no, you know, like get out jail free card, you get an extra attack, just in case someone does engage you for some reason, you messed up your positioning, or they didn't go into your spear wall, or just something randomly came out of nowhere and attacked you. So yeah, I mean, it's fairly strong still, but it's not that much of an upgrade and not that amazing. Okay, so this is a battle just to show the power of the pikeman. Also show how strong he can be with the right build and in the right team as well. I've got 2 of them with different names. I literally got exactly the same builds. It's just so I can differentiate between the 2 of them. So we're in like a little bottleneck here. We need to kind of defend ourselves from the front here and also watch out for the back at the same time. So we got a leader over here which can't get to, and he's also giving everyone critical hits guaranteed. So everyone has that unless I can kill him or engage him. But at the moment I can't reach him at all because everyone's completely out of range. So what I'm going to do is start off with the pikemen and start trying to stop them from attacking me whilst I deal with the leader somehow. So we're going to place this pikeman over here. So we put it at the front there just because we know he's parving. He's going to go for the closest target to us. So he's most likely going to go for that one. So if we put that there, then we knock these 2 back. Actually, what I might do is move there and knock those 2 back instead. There we go. So now they're slowed and they can't get to us at all either with that spear throw. So then we move back here. So we're defending everyone. And we put that bounce there. Yeah, about that. That should catch everyone. It should catch him and him if they walk into it. Okay. And then, for our next trick, we grab the infantryman. We'll move him down to about here as well. And we'll take a shot on something. Take a shot onto you. Put a barrage up as well. Ready for anything that comes close. Okay. Bam. Okay, so we literally set up like a little death trap for them to come into now. So anytime they move, they're going to take a lot of damage, especially this guy's probably going to die to the infantryman in a sec. Right, so on the other side here, they can't actually reach anyone here at all. So what I can do is grab the harpooner. I might just move here and go for a really quick stab. He's dead. This guy does so much damage with that spear. Okay, and then I think, just to play extra safe, I don't think he can reach, but I'll place that there, facing... Ooh. I think facing that way, yeah. Okay. Now, let's grab someone else. I'm going to move the berserker here. Buff everyone up with damage. Let's kind of leave him there for now. I want them to target the fighter first because it's a tank. Okay, so he's going with the path I want him to go. He's dead. The damage! The damage. It's just kind of like judging how close you are to that target. So I knew that this distance was slightly shorter than that one across. So to get to this guy, I mean, so he'd have to go all the way around to get to that guy. Whereas here, he was more like a diagonal. But yeah, so normally they always pick the shortest distance. That's how you position the spearman. Who's next? Who is next? I think with you, I'll just run you in. I know I'm not going to kill anything here. I'm going to run you in. I'm just going to throw a bleed up on you. I'll get the knife throw anyway for the reset. And I can run back again. Or I could even walk close. Go for a double stab. Kill one of them. Because rangers are so strong. And then run away again. Back behind the little shield wall. Let's see, like, they're just keeping everything back completely. It's crazy. Okay, so he's walked in. He's going to get a crit on something. Probably the assassin yet. Big hit. Okay, so he's walking the way I wanted him to as well. He doesn't really move that far, though. He's got barely any movement. Smasher could probably go deal with him. Yeah, Smasher's going to smash. So let's finish him off. Okay. And now, the leader still needs to move, but he can't reach me anyway. So what I'll do is I'll walk up. I will do a slam dunk. Make sure I'm out of range quickly. Yep. Don't want him to hit me, no, you know, just when I can avoid it completely. So I was just checking and positioning to make sure I didn't have to be further over. Okay, let's go for slam dunk. And then finish it off one of these. Okay, I can even move again here because of the riposte inspiration. I don't really want to just because he's going to hit me otherwise. So that's going to leave him there. Okay. Leader's on the move. So leader's going to be the first one, I mean the last one to die. Normally he's the first one to die in all my fights. But for some reason this guy put himself literally in Tokyo and I can't get to him at all. So I'm literally just dealing with this with the enemies having guaranteed crits. I think they've only hit one attack so far. Just because of the spearman. Okay, and probably the poacher as well actually going to hit something. Unless I can get to it. It's too far range. Actually, I might be able to get it still. So move there. We throw that. We get reset on our dagger throw. We can move in. Get closer. Go for the kill. Yeah, they only have one hit now. Only one hit. We can move over here as well. Get a stab off. Doesn't really do much though because we haven't got a backstab on this. So we can't get the triple. We can't get the single. I think I'll just end turn. Oh, let's cancel that then. So a new turn. Let's take down the fighter next. I mean the assassin. Herline the Mean. Slam dunk. This guy's literally just chopping them all up by himself. Crazy. Crazy damage. So I'll reposition him here. I might just taunt this now. Ready for when one of the assassins come in. Okay, so in that turn. Okay, so his turn's up pretty soon. I think I'll grab the berserker. Go to town. Time to berserk. Whatever berserker doesn't finish off, the ranger will. Okay, berserker literally just absolutely annihilated them. Right, so equipment time. So I have two sets of equipment for my two pikemen. So one of them is using the weapon Legion Gisam. And you get 53 strength, you get flurry blow skill, and I'm using a poisonous oil on this. Poisonous oil, every time a skill deals damage, has a 30% chance to apply one poison. Poison loses 5% of their maximum health at the end of their turn. It's also stackable. So this is really, really strong on this because of this skill here. Flurry of blows. Deals 25 damage to the target 4 times. Melee range 3 meters. So in other words, every time this hits, and those 4 times, it has a 30% chance of adding on that poison stack. So even on one hit, you can get up to like 3 stacks or 4 stacks of poison already just from one use of the skill. Really, really insane. And that's not all. I'm also using the poisonous oil concentrate as my belt accessory. The poisonous oil has an additional 30% chance to apply its effects. So what this means is the oil originally gives me 30%, plus this 30% means like 60%. And every time I hit, which is up to 4 times, that 60% chance of applying a poison stack each hit. Pretty crazy. So the medium armor that I'm using on my pikeman is the Outlaw's Hauberk. Critical hit 5%, guard 18%, armor 103. I literally use this medium armor on all the medium armor users. I got it on my Berserker, literally exactly the same one, apart from this one has a slot. I have it on my Smasher. I have it on my other pikeman as well. I'm literally using this on everyone. It's so strong. The only problem with this one is it didn't have a slot yet. I'm looking for one with a slot. So unfortunately, I haven't been lucky. The RNG gods have not blessed me as always. So I couldn't put in the layer that I wanted. The layer that I would use though is the layer of the Serpent. It gives 2 strength, 2 critical hit. I feel like this one's the best. The 2 strength adds to your damage as a spearman because your main stat is strength, and the critical hit is always nice to have because it means you're critting more, doing more damage. Moving on to my other pikeman, he is using the weapon Croc Sting, which I got off a unique kind of event, like a bounty. So it gives me strength 26 powerful throw skill. Unfortunately, it's only level 7 and it's quite hard to come by this weapon as well. I'm waiting for a level 8 or level 9 version so I can put an oil in it, which will most likely be even a poisonous oil for the AoE or a crit oil for the extra kind of added damage and raise my critical hit up a tiny bit. So what this one does is every time I use the main skill Powerful Throw, it deals 23 damage to all units in the target area, knocks them back by 2 meters and applies slow down 9 meter range. Slow down, movement reduced by half. So I use this kind of as a utility weapon. That's why it's so low level. I have found better things, or better weapons should I say, with more damage, but the utility this brings to the table is insane. Knocking back something, it literally is a soft CC that acts as a hard CC. So you can literally throw a spear at something, slow it down so it can't reach any of your party members, spearball the rest out. So you're doing like almost 3 crowd controls for the price of 1 pretty much. Just having this weapon. This weapon gives me so much battle control, so much CC. I love it. Love this weapon. Over to the belt accessory, I'm using Light Feathers, range +1. I feel like this is the best one to kind of team up with the weapon. It gives me a bit of added range, means I can hit more people with it. I can hit up to 2 to 3 people, or hit like a bit further away than I normally could. This allows me to make more plays, a bit more tactical advantage. The armor, once again, is Outlaw's Hauberk. Critical hit 5%, guard 18%, armor 103. As I said before, I have this armor on literally everyone that uses medium armor just because the crit and the stats are really well balanced. If I could, I'd put in a reinforced layer of the Serpent once again for the 2 strength and the critical hit. Okay, so professions for my pikemen. So my first one has Miner, Constitution +2 and Strength +1, and the other one has Scholar, Willpower +1. So the thing is, you can't always choose the kind of correct professions for all your characters. Not everyone can be a blacksmith, not everyone can be a tinkerer for the crit. So in other words, you literally have to kind of make do. These guys don't actually need a lot of damage. They're more like utility support. So it's actually okay to kind of be a bit more mediocre on them. They don't need to be at their best and have the best kind of damage boosting abilities and skills and professions and all that. They can kind of sit a bit more at mediocrity than the other classes, so to speak. So I would say the best ones to pick are probably Miner, that'd be Blacksmith, and once again Tinkerer. I feel like Tinkerer is really good on pretty much everyone, unless it's like a tank. Then you probably don't want it on the tank at all, because the tank's not going to make a full use out of it, because you're not really going to be doing that much damage if you're using sword and board. So yeah, Tinkerer is just really good on everyone else pretty much. It gives you that guaranteed kind of critical hit 2%. So yeah, these 3 are pretty strong. Tinkerer, Miner, Blacksmith. I would stay away from Alchemist. It's not your main stat. Willpower, as I said before in the previous guide, is a very iffy stat. It doesn't really do a lot in this game at all. Like, it doesn't really make much difference to your character at all, but someone has to take it at some point. So you need like at least 1 Scholar and possibly 1 Angler. You can probably skip Angler, I reckon, because you don't really need to fish that much. There's probably like one quest that needs it, so you can kind of skip angler. If you don't want to kind of like give someone a crappy profession, you can kind of get rid of angler as soon as you've done that quest. Cooking's not too bad as a profession. It's not the best, it's not ideal, but as I said before, they don't need to be the best. So Constitution +2, that mainly be used for like straight arrows and range attacks, because as a pikeman, you're not really going to be hitting melee very much. And then thief, once again, it's not your main stat. Dex +1, it doesn't have any kind of relevance on you at all, so there's no point taking it. So both my pikemen, even though they're using different weapons, they have exactly the same build. They both use valor supports for the easy valor point generation. They both have spear walls just because defensive advantages, noping out enemies' turns, making sure they don't have any fun at all. Then they have team spirit because that damage bonus is insane. It's permanently on you. It literally is like a passive that's always on you pretty much. And then last but not least, we have preparedness and gives you fury, which gives you a big burst of damage that you need. It literally allows you to down stuff even quicker than you normally would. Right, so that about wraps up my best build guide for the Spearman. If you have any suggestions on how to make this class even more powerful, I look forward to hearing it. I'm also covering the last 4 classes, so stay tuned for that. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.